Hello, Team Zoot. What is up? Welcome to Ferrell Swim Tech. My name is John Ferrell. This is the live stream show on Team Zoot's Facebook page where I use my 15 plus years of competition experience and over 12 years of swimming experience. And hold on, I'm sorry. I just had a massive shift. And of course, this has to happen right at the beginning, completely distract me and my brain. And okay, so this is the live stream where I use all my experience to talk about swimming, and I want to help you get faster. Now, today's topic is not going to be a technique topic; it's going to be a training topic. We're gonna kind of do a deep dive into this concept of paces and how to determine your pace, what should be your pace, the difference between training paces and racing paces. Now, the one major caveat to pacing is if you're at a certain time, there is a balance between technique work and yardage work. I'm working with a fellow Team Zoot member that lives near my hometown. And, we were talking last night because we were supposed to do an in-person lesson, and I completely forgot it was the high school's cardboard boat competition where kids make teams and make boats out of cardboard, and they have to paddle them down the pool and back across the pool. So, yeah, no lesson spots available. And big shout out to my good friend Erin, who's on the local swim team. Her team won the boat race, so good for you. But we were talking about kind of what he's working on with regards to swimming, and he swims around a 2-minute per 100 pace. And something that we were talking about yesterday was he's having issues with his legs sinking, and if he puts on fins, that alleviates his problem. And I asked him, I was like, okay, so I know that we're on the right track of working to fix these legs. And he said that he's seen improvement with the leg techniques that, leg kicking techniques, drills, dryland drills that we've been talking about. But he's had a major issue of stringing 50s and 100s together. And this is where, you need to be a little, I need to start being a little flexible with my prescriptions in terms of how people should be training, how people should be working on things. Because with this particular individual, he can't string together 50s. He can't string together 100s because he gets to the other end of the pool and he's just gassed. However, if he wears fins, he's going to be able to keep his legs on top of the water so he can actually put together some 50s and 100s. So when we talk about this concept of pacing, it's not like being on the bike where you take a simple FTP test, you ride for 30 minutes, you get your power from your trainer, and then you set the Zwift software and you go. It doesn't really work like that, because if you're at a certain ability level, you can't string together hundreds really easy. It is not an easy thing to do. So this is why when I talk about training paces and racing paces, we need to understand there's going to be a lot of give and take, especially when you're at the slower end. When you're at the sub 130 end, okay, you figure out what your pace is, you set it, and you go, okay? However, if you're at the slower end, you got to focus on the technique, because if you do not have technique, you do not have the capability of being able to train and add the yardage and factor in all of these time factors, because you're struggling to put together consecutive hundreds during a training session. So let's start at that concept, okay? So let's start with the idea of let me think. Do I want to go training routes or pace? Let's talk about paces, okay? So when we talk about pacing, we're more talking about this concept of your time per 100. What should my average 100 time be? Now, for my own example, if I'm racing a sprint, okay? If I'm racing a sprint, I'm somewhere around the 110 per 100 range. 110, 112, somewhere around there. If I'm swimming a Olympic or half Ironman, I'm probably going to be somewhere between 120 and 125. I haven't done it. I haven't done a full Ironman yet, but I would expect I'm probably going to be around the 120 to 125 range as well, because I can set a pace of about 120 and just forget it. If I'm regularly training, I know I can go 120s per 100 basically as long as I want to. So that's my thing. However, if I'm swimming hundreds, I'm shooting to do those hundreds in the pool at a 105. If I'm swimming 10 100s on the 115, I'm shooting for 105. That's what I'm going for. Because I know I can swim a 500 going sub 110s. I can swim a mile going sub 115s. And I've swam a 2000 also going sub 115s. So for me personally, I want my training paces on my average 100 to actually be at the 105. I want to go 105. If I'm sprinting, I want to be somewhere around the 55 range, okay? Now, for you, it's going to be probably similar. You're going to have a pace for your long distance events, for your mid distance events, and for your short events. Now, on the bike, we kind of talk about this idea of your zone 2, borderline zone 3 to be your full distance Ironman. Your zone 3 is going to be your half distance Ironman. And then your crit is going to be, for the sprints or whatever, whatever it is. Because I see this stuff on Zwift all the time. Now, for you, you're going to have a different pace for each event, obviously, because you can sprint a 100 freestyle. You probably can't hold that sprint pace for a 500 freestyle. You can't hold that 500 pace for 1,000. You can't hold 1,000 for a mile. Each time you go up, your pace will inevitably get slower. There will come a point, though, where in theory you should be able to hold a certain pace for the entire thing. Now, if your 500 pace is the same pace as your mile time pace, your 500 pace is too slow. Okay? It is too slow. Full stop. And here's another caveat that I kind of lump together the Olympic distance and the half Ironman distance. It's only an extra 400 yards. Because the difference between a sprint and an Olympic, it's either a 500 or a 750. You're doubling that for the Olympic. And then the Olympic is 1,500 meters, 1,650 yards, plus minus, okay? Going there to a 2 kilometer, that's only roughly 500 yards or roughly 500 meters. That's not that much. Once you get over a mile, an extra 500 really isn't that much. So saying that your Olympic pace is going to be faster than your half Ironman pace, you're splitting hairs at this point. So I like to lump it in where you have your sprint triathlon pace, you have your half Ironman Olympic pace, and then you have your full Ironman pace. Okay, if your sprint is as fast as your Olympic / half Ironman, this one's too slow. If your half Ironman is as fast as your full Ironman, your half Ironman is too slow. So you need to figure out what these paces are per the distances, And hey, you want, maybe you only do full Ironmans, maybe you only do sprints, but these are for people that do multiple distances over the year. So yeah. So that's kind of this idea of what your paces should be. Your 500 should be much faster than your half Ironman, which should be relatively much faster than your full Ironman distance. Now, how do we determine what these paces are? Now, honestly, if you don't do full Ironmans, don't worry about the full Ironman distance pace right now. Just don't even worry about it. Block that out. If you just do sprints and Olympics, only focus on those paces, because I don't focus on, I haven't swam longer than 2,000 yards in well over a decade at this point. I don't see any point of doing a crazy long distance swim, so I don't do it. Yeah, just don't do it. Don't worry about it. But 1 second here. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm still getting over a cold. So how do we determine what our paces are? Now, first off, we can pretty easily go to our previous race. What do we do in our last race? So you can check out your race, check your Garmin, check the official time. Just understand a couple things. Your official time does include the run into the water, and it includes the run into transition. Unless you're clicking your transition on your watch right when you hop out of the water, you're going to add a couple seconds of fluff onto your time. So kind of think about your race. And that could affect your pace plus minus by a second or two, maybe. So just understand that there's going to be, your pace might be about a second faster than what you think it is, just looking at the results. So when you're looking at your race, you can check your pace per 100. Or you can just do a simple calculation, and that will help you understand what your pace is per 100. Then the other way that you can do is you can do it while training. Now, you can either do this open water or you can do this in a pool. If you do this in a pool, I very much so recommend you either use Form goggles or you get a friend. Get a friend, bribe them with the milkshake. Hey, I bribe my daughters with milkshakes all the time. It works. It's fantastic. Maybe get them a cup of hot cocoa, and get them to sit with a clipboard and a stopwatch, and you swim 500, 1,000. Good Lord, don't make them sit for more than a mile. Don't make them sit for longer than a 1,500. That's gonna be a commitment. I mean, you're gonna have to buy them dinner. You're gonna have to buy them dinner and maybe a dozen roses if you go over 1,500 yards. So okay. So you swim. They get your pace. They click off on a stopwatch. Split every 100. Write the splits down so then you can check them out. If you have Form goggles, it automatically gets that for you. Then you'll be able to look up the stats later and figure out what your pace is if you're just swimming a flat 500. Now, the watch. Should you use a watch to do this? No, I don't recommend a watch doing this, because I have found the watches to be not accurate, especially for pool swimming. For open water swimming, if you have good reception, it's actually pretty accurate in terms of mapping where you're going, mapping your speed, things of that nature. In a pool, things get a little silly. I've seen my Garmin be anywhere between 100 yards to 200 to 300 yards off, just because it doesn't register turns very 100% accurately. I mean, it does a lot of stuff. Personally, when I do my workouts, I have Form goggles, which keep track of my pace. And then I use my watch in order to keep track of heart rate and load. And then that gets factored in to my weekly training load that I kind of check on my Garmin to make sure that I'm not killing myself. So I like using Form a lot better for tracking distances and paces. The Garmin, it's okay, but if you're really trying to figure out what your pace is, I do not recommend using the Garmin watch. So all right. So that's way number one. Way number one is doing the distance, writing down your paces, and then analyzing your paces afterward. Now, next, what you can do is, so those are two great methods of determining what your pace is for an event. Now, and that's probably, those are probably going to be your best ways. So then, because that's going to be the closest to you actually swimming that distance for for an amount of time where you're just like, okay, I am swimming the distance. These are my splits. Now, anytime you start chopping it up into hundreds, that's going to go into what I believe should be your training pace. Now, there's a difference between swimming sets at training pace and swimming sets at racing pace. In my opinion, you don't want to swim a crap ton of stuff at your race pace. You want to save doing sets at your race pace more towards your actual event, because that's when you're trying to get your pace ingrained in your head and you're doing that. In my opinion, now I understand I'm not a training coach. I don't give workouts. I don't prescribe workouts. I don't do things of that nature. Now, this is based off of my own training and kind of my own ideas. Now, if someone wants to take me up on this offer, I would love to get some data on this concept. If people are willing to test something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. Now, like I said, 100%, I understand. I'm not a coach. I don't do any of that stuff. I get it. I understand. If someone's willing to take a chance, I'd love to get some feedback and comments on this idea. So the idea is this. You want to actually be swimming back and forth at a pace that is faster than your training pace, okay? Now, I'm not talking about stuff like, oh, well, you have a 50 sprint, 50 easy, 50 sprint, 50 easy. That's not what I'm talking about. Where if you are swimming 5 100s and if you're swimming 5 100s, you want to be training those 500s at above your race pace. Now, there's a lot of discussion in the triathlon world about zone 2, 80% zone 2, 20% zone 3, blah, blah, blah. In swimming, and I've talked with a coach or two about, a triathlon coach or two about this. There's actually a triathlon coach on Team Zoot in my local area. He actually remembers my high school swimming days. He lived a couple, like in the next county over. But he actually remembers reading about my swimming back when I was in high school. I was kind of a big deal. So in the local swimming scene. So we were talking about this whole concept of training and things like that. He's just like, you're so used to just beating the crap out of yourself because you're a swimmer. Because swimmers, when we're in water, water supports about at least a third of our body weight. So if you think about this, it's like riding a bike, but you have a bunch of helium on your back. You got helium balloons strapped to your back. So the impact and the amount of wear and tear I'm putting on my system is not that much compared to if I was running or cycling. Yes, there is a component of the cardio, your cardio heart rate And I will admit, I don't really know the difference between a swimming heart rate, the stress on your system between a swimming heart rate, a running heart rate, and a cycling heart rate. So, we have kind of these different factors that are factoring in. But with my own personal experience, I have found that you can go harder in swimming longer, mainly because the water is allowing your system to not really beat the crap out of itself like you do in running and cycling. So the other big difference is swimming is mostly arms, okay? Your arms are taking the brunt of the load here. Your legs are not. Now, with that being said, if you have poor swimming technique, your shoulders are going to hurt a lot. And this is going to tie into this concept of how should I be training? What should I be focusing on going into this off season? We'll get to that in a few minutes. But right now, I want to talk about this concept of training. Using my own example, if I'm racing a 500 at 110 pace, that 110 pace factors in the fact that I got to get out of that pool, I got to bike 10 miles, and I got to run a 5K. That's what that is. That 110 has those two elements factored into it. If I'm swimming a 500 in a pool and that's it, I'm going to shoot for that 105. I'm shooting for the much faster pacing. That's because I touch that wall and I'm done. I'm not worried about hopping out, not passing out because the blood's rushing out of my head. I can touch the wall, take a breather, hang on the lane line, congratulate whoever I raced against. I don't have to get out and continue on for another 45 plus minutes. That's not what I have to do. So if we're training in a pool, we actually want to set our times faster. Why? Because what we want to do is we want to be pushing our body to go faster. And we don't want to do this. We don't want to offload this only to the sprint. The reason we don't want to do this is because your sprint stroke is going to be vastly different than your distance stroke. We've already talked about this when I talked about sprint theory, where you're punching for... Did I do a sprint theory video? I don't think I did my sprint theory video. I was thinking of doing sprint theory video, but then I got distracted by something, as always. I am so sorry. We will do sprint theory next week. I need to do some more research into this. I need to make sure if I did that. I love it when I start talking about things and I have this, oh no, I didn't do that, did I? Yeah. Okay. Well, if I did a sprint, okay, I'm blaming the cold medicine on this one. If I totally botched doing the sprint theory video, we'll tackle sprint theory next week. If not, we're good. And the cold medicine just hates me. Okay. So I swear I just have water in this thing. I swear. No chalky milk. No chalky milk this early in the morning. Okay. So now when we're talking about this whole, we don't want to offload our hard stuff just for the sprint. Okay. Because unlike the bicycle, sprinting and swimming is a completely different beast than just pushing the pedals a lot faster and harder. It's not like in running where it's kind of akin to running where a sprint run looks very different than a half marathon pace. Okay. So what we really want to be focusing on is making sure we're pushing our bodies to actually be understanding of a faster pace. And this comes more into play, especially if you're on the slower end. And actually when you're at more of the middle end, like honestly, if you're somewhere around 145, 140-ish, your technique is at the point where you can start pushing the yardage. You can start pushing your pace to make your body uncomfortable and to be able to build yourself up over time. I believe most swimmers, if you're stuck at a certain pace, especially if you're that mid-range where you're sub 145, you're sub 130, and you're just like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. I believe you need to set your training paces faster, okay? So how do we do that, okay? What are some mechanisms that we can use in order to make our paces go faster? Number one, you might want to start looking into how you write your workouts. Now, in writing workouts, and we're talking structured workouts. You know, we're going to disregard this whole, I'm just going to go swim for an hour. That honestly, that does you no good. It doesn't really do you any good whatsoever. It's not like hey, I just want to go for a zone 2 run. It doesn't really work like that. You're going to find yourself being horrendously inefficient. You're going to find yourself hanging out on the wall way too much. Every time you go to the pool, if you want to get faster, always have a structured workout. Always have a plan in mind of what you want to do. Even if it's a very lazy, hey, we're just going to swim, 10 100s today. I only got time to swim 1,000. We're just going to swim 10 100s today. Okay. Go to the 10 100s with a plan. Know what you want to do for each 100. I recommend you don't just swim 10 straight 100s. You do, with the 10 100s, you continuously are changing things up. You're making the workout interesting rather than just 10 100s. So, 1 second, hold on. So the two major ways to write workouts, especially with your pacing, is I have X amount of rest between intervals, and I'm doing the intervals on X amount of time. Okay, let me explain. So when I swim, my coach, Janet Mobley, she is fantastic. She's been my high school coach, and whenever I train with her gold group for the club, and she usually gives 5 100s on the 5 100s on the 120. Okay, so 5 100s on the 115. So that means I am expected to swim 5 100s, and then each 100 has to be faster than a 115. Okay, so if I swim 100 on a 105, I have 10 seconds rest. If I swim 100 on a 110, I have 5 seconds rest. 112, 3 seconds rest. So I am getting as much rest as I'm putting into the effort, okay? So this allows me to have a little more flexibility, but it keeps my ability level in check. The other way to swim the workout is if my coach would give me 5 100s and then take 5 seconds rest in between, take 10 seconds rest in between. Now, my personal problem with this is that it's not consistent, okay? That therefore relies on you in order to consistently be able to run the set. Now, there is a benefit to this, is that this one is very easy to do with just a watch. You can hit the wall 5, 4, 3. You can just check the seconds on your watch, and it's really easy to do. I'll openly admit it is a very easy way, especially if the pool that you're at does not have a pace clock. If the pool that you're at does not have a pace clock, this is actually a very easy way to do it. However, I know that you can probably get an app for a Garmin, for an Apple Watch, just a simple chronometer that just keeps track. You start at 0 and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, So then you'll be able, if you do it that way, okay, I'm swimming on the 115. Okay, so if I'm swimming 5 100s on the 115, that's 115, 2:30, 3:45, 5 minutes, blah, 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 blah. So, not 5 minutes, 6 minutes. So, So you'll be able to kind of think about, okay, these are the times that I'm leaving on. So if I start at 0, my first 100 needs to be done by the 115 or 75 seconds. Okay. So you just kind of calc these out. You can annotate these on your workouts. Unfortunately, Form Goggles does not do this for you yet. I actually do. I'm still planning on having Scott back on the broadcast. We were supposed to talk much earlier this year. I think it was actually like back in February, but schedules just didn't work out. I was neck deep in my daughter's softball crap, so yeah, it just didn't work out. I am planning on having him back on the show so we can talk a lot about this head coach stuff, because I'm thrilled about the whole head coach thing. It's fantastic, especially with the pacing. Now, the one thing that I don't like about Form Goggles is that the workouts are only set for a certain amount of time in between send-offs. So you hit the wall, it counts down your rest from, 30, 10, or 15, and then you go. So you can theoretically do the send-offs at a certain pace. You just have to do a lot more mental math during the course of the workout, where I say, okay, I hit the wall, goggles tell me 110, 5 seconds, go. So you can do it that way. It's just a lot more stuff to jumble around in your noggin, and math is hard. I was told there would be no math. So I just like being able to see, oh, I go 15 seconds after I leave on the 15. Okay, I leave on the 15. Okay, I'm leaving on the 30. Okay, that's a lot easier for me personally. So I'm hoping maybe we can talk to Form, and Form can actually have that option for their workouts. That'd be great. I would imagine it would only be for the custom workouts, which you can take a workout and totally modify it. So there is that way. So if you are training, if you are racing at a certain pace, let's say you're racing at you're doing your half Ironman distance, and your pace for a half Ironman distance is a 1:45. Okay. I am going to challenge you to start doing your training. Now, this is your race pace. I want you to do your training where hundreds or lower, okay? Hundreds or lower. I want you to do your training at 135s, okay? I want you to push yourself to start doing 135s for at least 140, if not 135s, for your training pace. Because this is going to push you in a new direction. And I bet if you set your training pace at 135, if your race pace is 145, you're going to see your race pace come down to meet that 135. Now, let's talk about the slower end. And this is going to be the final portion of the broadcast today. Let's just take a small breather. We've done a lot of theory crafting, so let's just take a minute. I want to talk about the virtual swim technique and my in-person lessons. So just remember, if you like what you see during this broadcast, make sure you let Mark Goddard know. Mark has been fantastic in letting me get the necessary credentials in order to run this stream here on Zoot. I'm just an average Team Zoot member. I am not paid by Zoot to do this. Full disclosure, I do get a couple freebies during the year as, kind of a, hey, I was hoping to get this. Hey, sure, yeah, no problem, take it. So I do get a couple freebies to do this, but I don't get paid regularly to do this. So if you would like to donate to the cause, shoot me an email, ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. I feel kind of icky just posting a link to donation sites and stuff like that. So if you really like what you see and you want to donate to the cause, the donations help to purchase new equipment. I am planning on next year. I am going to get some filming done, and so I'll have some better material to work with during the streams. So I'm planning on doing a bunch of off-camera stuff this next year. I'm really going to make that happen. So if you are able to donate, that'd be fantastic. ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. I'll get you the necessary information there. Follow the Instagram, YouTube, and Rumble. I am a little bit behind at this point of posting the live streams, but this next weekend I'm going to upload everything I've done so far. And if you are interested in having me review your swim technique, shoot me an email, ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. And I'll tell you how to send me the stuff. I'll send you a Dropbox link or a Google Drive link. You can upload the videos there, and then I'll review them. I'll do a side-by-side. I'll be here, and then the video will be here, and then we'll talk about it. Check out the YouTube or the Rumble, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I've had a lot of great reviews of the concept of the videos I've done so far. And I also do in-person lessons. If you live in Los Angeles County, West San Bernardino County, OC, Northern San Diego County, I do lessons in Glendora, California. And if you want to do an in-person lesson, let me know. I've had a couple people express interest. Typically, I do lessons Monday through Friday between the times of 5:30 and 7 o'clock. I can get a pool on Saturday. I just have to arrange it beforehand. So if there are people that want to come down for swim lessons, I would like to group you all together on one Saturday so I can just get one pool on a Saturday, and then we can do all the swim lessons that you want. We can do a group class, individual classes, and we can have some flexibility because I'll basically have the whole pool to myself. All right. Okay. So that's it for that. ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. Any questions whatsoever, if you would like to donate to the cause, email me there as well. Okay. So let's talk about what should you be doing during the off season. Okay. Now, off-season training is the time to really drill down on technique. You're not really too worried about your yardage. I wouldn't be too worried about your yardage during this time. I would really hyper-focus your workouts on building what you need to get faster, okay? What are you deficient in? Are you deficient in your kick? Are you deficient in your pull? Are you deficient in your body positioning? Do you have a problem breathing not every stroke? Do you have to take that breath every single stroke? Or would you be able to take a couple strokes between breaths? So there's a lot of things that you can be focusing on. I don't believe during the off season your yardage should be the main focus, okay? Allow yourself some time to kind of have easier yardage workouts, but heavy technique-focused workouts. Go to the pool with a plan and integrate the drills plus a little bit of swimming, just full swimming, no paddles, no kickboards, no fins, so you can test out ideas, work on the ideas with specific drills, and then spend a couple hundred yards trying to, incorporate that into your technique. Now, what do you need to be working on? That's up to the individual. I can't tell you, because I know if you swim slower than 2 minutes per 100, there are major technical flaws that you need to work on. If you're swimming slower, if you're at about the 145 range, there are some technical flaws, but you're kind of at the point where you could start doing some more yards. If you're at the 130 mark, there's minor technical deficiencies that you could be working on, but realistically, you just need to swim more yards. If you swim more yards, you're going to build up your body. It's going to be a lot easier. And if you fix each time you fix a technical flaw, you'll probably gain at least a couple seconds. Just remember, for me personally, I can basically not swim for months, and I can hop in a pool and basically go 115, 120 per 100. That's all technique, pure technique, zero swim training. Okay. With technique, you can do a lot. So using this time between now and February and March, you can bank a lot of good technique training time. And I would submit to you, if you spend the next 2 to 3 months hyper focused on your technique, when you hit the ground running in March, March is kind of when these events start popping up. You're really going to be primed to, and start adding in the yardage kind of mid-February, early to mid-February. So if you take December and January, hyper focus on your technique. Beginning of February, start adding back into the yards. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised if you have a race in March. Okay? So how do we know what technique we need to be working on? Well, number one, easiest way is to film yourself. Film yourself. And there's a lot of people where if they film themselves and they watch the streams that I do, film yourself, watch your film. Slow your, use your computer. Most VLC is what I use for the swim technique live streams, for better or worse. But it has a basic slowdown feature. I'm sorry, I got something in my eye here. So it has a basic slowdown feature where I can slow the video down to 33% speed, and I'm able to kind of watch frame by frame exactly what's going on with the stroke. You can do this too. Now, if you're looking at your stroke and you're just like, kind of looks like garbage, I don't know what to do, that's when you call me. Send me an email, ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. You can shoot me an email, shoot me the footage. I can look it over for you. Remember, it's a free service. I do ask for donations. If you can't pay for the donate, if you can't afford to donate, just tell me what you thought. I'm totally cool with that. However, it's going to be the absolute cheapest stroke technique you've ever done. So have film yourself. You could also get a local coach. Get a local coach to review your technique. If you go to if you don't really want to film it and send to me, you can go to a master's program. You can go to a club, USA Swimming Club. Usually if you go on deck and find a local coach, you can find someone that would be willing to work with you on your technique. It's not that hard to do. Personally around here in my parts, I charge 40 for a 30-minute session. I know there's probably some coaches that would do it for 30 or 20. So just ask around. I know some places go as high as 70 for a 30-minute lesson, especially in my local area. There's a place over in Pasadena that's a freaking ripoff. But ask around. Ask around with some coaches. Ask around in your local team zoot. If you're down in the Arizona area, Mesa area, I know a couple people. I know a bunch of my old college friends all live down in that area, and I know there's a number of them that would be more than happy to work with you, or they'd be able to arrange something to where they could probably do a quick private lesson with you. So if you live in that area and you want some in-person instruction, I could probably get something arranged for you, because I have friends that were very fast in college and they know exactly what they're doing. But they don't necessarily do the privates like I do, but I could probably nicely convince them to do one. So, so look up local swim teams, go on deck, ask very nicely. Lots of coaches are super cool with the idea. So just ask and see what happens. So that's one way that you can do it. You can analyze it yourself. You can send it to me. Those are going to be the best ways to figure out exactly what you should be doing with your technique. In my opinion, it always goes legs, body position, pull. Okay? Focus on getting your legs to where they're not being a liability. Focus your body position to where you're flat on the water. Then it's a lot easier to learn pulling technique. That's kind of my triage. Legs, body position, pull. Okay? And then with pull kind of comes the breathing, kind of comes the rotation. But if your legs are, if you're swimming with your legs down here, you're killing yourself. You got to work on those legs. You got to get them up to the surface. Now, one thing that I prescribed to the Team Zoot athlete that I've been working with, we had a chat yesterday. I'm actually having him use fins for about half the workout. Half of his workout is working on the kick. And then the other half of the workout is putting on the fins and actually swimming 50s, because he swims about 2 minutes per 100. And he has, like I said before, he has a really hard time stringing together 50s. He's had a hard time stringing together 100s. If you can't string together 50s and 100s, you got to start working on stringing 50s or 100s, no matter how you can do it, because you have to get the overall feel of continuously swimming for a set amount of time. So if you got to use fins, use the fins. Use the fins to get your butt up, especially during this time. During this time, you have the leeway where this is working on technique. Using the fins will work on your capability to be able to swim multiple lengths of the pool at a time. That's going to work your pulling. That's going to work your rotation. It's going to work your breathing. And it's going to vastly reduce the amount of strain and unnecessary burden that your legs are placing upon you. I've seen with people kicking with fins, especially if you're at the 2-minute range, all that's doing is it's floating their legs up towards the surface. I don't view it as they're getting a massive speed benefit from the fins. So that is just allowing them to be able to swim longer distances without gassing themselves by the time they finish the 25. So that's kind of one way to look at the training. So spend half of your time, and I understand this kind of goes against the concept of, well, you said not to worry about yardage. There's a difference between worrying about yardage and worrying about being able to swim a long time without stopping. Okay, if you can't swim more than a 25 or maybe a 50 consecutively, and just being like, okay, all right, okay, you have to go longer than that. You have to be able to string longer than that. And I understand for those people on races, these are the people that are hanging on to the kayak. You're hanging on to the longboard, during the race. We got to get you to the point where you can swim a 500 yards and not feel like utter garbage. Using the fins will help you get to that point to where you have to be able to swim a 500 with fins in order to be able to swim a 500 without fins. Because if you can't swim a 500, period, it's hard to do it in a race. So if you can use the fins to make that happen, make it happen. But use that only for about half of your workout, maybe even 25% of your workout. I mean, seriously, if you have an hour to swim, work 30 to 45 minutes on technique and spend the last 15 minutes just doing a distance swim with fins. Just say, okay, I am now going to swim for 15 minutes straight. I don't care how long I go. I just want to comfortably swim for 15 minutes straight, okay? That's a good workout where you're working a lot of technique, and then you're telling yourself, okay, now I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to see how far I can swim in 15 minutes. And then see if you're able to sneak in an extra 25, get an extra 50, get an extra 100 within that 15 minutes with fins, okay? Now, this is for people that are at the 2 minutes or longer, and especially people that struggle to swim more than just a single 25. Now, if you're at the 145 range, sorry, I got to keep drinking or my throat kind of gets pretty raspy. If you're at the 145 range, you still have things that you need to work on. So at that point, you're going to want to go split it about 50-50, where you work 50% on a specific technique. You only want to work on one technique, and you want to drill. Do drills, pick drills that focus and isolate that certain technique, okay? Now, just kind of remember how I prescribe the kicking drill, where you do something on dry land where you're in full control. You know exactly what you're working on. So let's say you want to work on your pull, okay? So I would recommend doing the 1, 2, 3. Do that drill, standing on the pool deck. Then get in the water, grab your pull buoy, do single arm pull, focusing on stringing 3 push. Do the third, which is the combination of 1 and 2, okay? 3 push. Have your other arm at your side, so then you can get the full rotation. Focus on making sure, if you're breathing, having that elbow bend while you push, and then rotate back on your stomach as you push the hand backwards. Throw the pull buoy on if you can't do it with the kick. If you can't do it with the kick, it's a lot easier to do it with the pull buoy. So, focus on one technique piece per session. And my recommendation, legs, body position, pulling. So, work on that for about 50% of your workout. Then set up a standard 30-minute workout, and this is always talking like you just have 1 hour in the pool, okay? You have between the travel time and you get to the pool, you say, okay, I get to the pool, so I have 1 full hour in the pool. So while you're in the pool for that full hour, you spend 30 minutes working on technique, and then 30 minutes swimming a workout, hyper-focused on carrying the technique over into the workout section, okay? So then you're able to more solidify what you are working on through whatever your workout happens to be for that 30 minutes. Like I said, you're going to be swimming a lot less yardage during this time, but if you do that, you're going to be able to hyper-focus on that one piece of technique and really start ingraining it into your muscle memory. You got to get to the point, and it's going to take a lot of mental attitude. You can't just get to the workout portion and then just check out and not worry about not be thinking about the technique. You have to be thinking more of the technique once you get into that workout 30-minute period. Okay, now, if you're at the 130 or faster range, what's going to happen is that you are probably going to want to spend about a quarter of the time on the workout, and you're going to want to spend the majority of the time actually swimming yards at a faster pace, okay? In my opinion, if you're at the 130 mark, your off-season training should be focused on not more yardage, but swimming the yardage at a faster pace. Now, this might involve tweaking the time a little bit, where if I'm saying, okay, I want to swim hundreds on the 130, I want to be able to swim 10 100s holding a 105, okay? If I'm doing that, I can't say I'm swimming hundreds on the 105, but I want to go on the 110. That's not going to get you to the promised land, because trust me, you're not going to have enough rest. You're going to flame out after about 200 to 300s, and you're going to be super pissed off at yourself. So if you're trying to push yourself to swim stuff at faster times, give yourself more rest on the wall. So let's say I normally, my race pace is 130. I want to challenge myself and swim 120s. I would recommend at least swimming those on the 145, 150, possibly even 2 minutes. If it's your first time, allow yourself 30 seconds rest. 30 seconds rest is plenty. So challenge yourself to swim your training pace anywhere, I would say. I'm sorry, hold on. I would say, oh wow, man, that thing really. I would say challenge yourself to swim your training pace somewhere at least 5, hopefully 10 seconds faster than what your race pace is. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cut this discussion short. Whatever this is that just got in my throat, it's killing me. So anyway, I understand this was a lot of discussion, and I really hope that this discussion will help you kind of steer your training plans and may help you get faster during the off season. Remember, ferrellswimtech@gmail.com. You got any questions whatsoever, shoot me a line. My next race is going to be in Pasadena. I'm going to be doing Pasadena Reverse in March and then Bayshore Sprint in April. So if you're local, do those events, support your local events. I've seen a lot of stuff online saying that there's a lot of local events that are just going away because of not a lot of participation. I understand they're not as flashy as the big Ironman events, but work on supporting your local events. Those are the only events that I do, and they're fantastic. I love them. Unfortunately, I can't support the Cal Tri events because they're all on Sunday now. Cal Tri events, they put on great races. These are Southern California races. So they put on great races. Malibu puts on a great race, but they're now with Super League. So technically that's a big race now. Yeah, so get your racing calendars in line, figure out how long you have for this off season. Shoot me emails with any questions whatsoever. That's about it for today. Remember, if you're watching it at this point, thank you. Thank you for watching the whole thing. Hope that this was informative. Leave a comment. If you have a chance to tune in on the Friday live streams, if you can drop a little note saying, hey, Ferrell's awesome, watching a stream this week, a lot of great info, that'd be great. So anyway, I'm going to hop off and get ready for my work day. Keep training, everyone. It's going to be, 2024 is going to be a great year for racing. So until later, my friends, thank you all so much for tuning in. Shoot me an email with any questions whatsoever. And until next week, my friends, good night, Isaiah Norris. Wherever you are, I'm out of here. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.